Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Not my hair all over the place. There we go. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Four Seasons podcast. I am your host, Four Seasons, and I'm happy to have you here, guys. Most definitely. Shout out to Leoichi. Thank you for stopping in, bro. Out eating, so I'll be in and out. I appreciate the lurk. I do. I'm gonna give you a shout out like I usually do, cause why not? Why not shout out the supporters and the fam that always shows up and shows out? So thank you for that, bro. I hope you enjoy whatever food you are partaking in this evening. Um, Again, welcome in. Shout outs to the new viewers. Shout outs to the Four Seasons community for returning. I am your host, Four Seasons. That's spelled Ivsznz. And this is a space curated by us all to be open, honest, and vulnerable surrounding the topics of mental health, relationships, self esteem, goal setting, goal achieving, and accountability. So, welcome in, everybody. Um, what we usually do here in our openings or intros, if you will, is a check-in of some sort, right? So I posed a question in the chat already, asking how are we feeling right now? What's on your mind? Um, I'm feeling pretty. I'm feeling pretty okay today. It's been an up and down week, kind of, sort of for me. As y'all can see, I usually have a lineup, but y'all, it's been something. But I'm good. I'm thankful and I'm grateful. And as you guys know, whenever I um, do come here and do talk to you guys, I tend to lean more into being thankful and grateful because it's God's will that I'm here, and I'm thankful for Him to allow me to still be here, to be sane, to be present, to be who He needs me to be, to share whatever He needs me to share for you guys this evening, right? So that's the space that I'm operating in today, and being that, right. What we also do here is a little thing that we created here on this channel. Shout out to the Four Seasons community that helped create this, called the line dynamic. And what the line dynamic is, if I can pull it up, is a visual representation, right, of where our mindset is at, where we're at mentally, right? And it is broken down into 3 tiers, as it's shown on the screen right now. And that's what we use here to really just say how we're feeling, right? So I'll go through each tier from top to bottom with an explanation of what they are and how they affect us and what that means when we say we're whichever line or tier we are, right? Starting from top to bottom. We're going to go with the first one, which is above the line, right? So if you guys can see by the emojis here on the screen where it says above, that is a representation. Hold on, this is going to bother me. There we go. That little that little bar of white under where my camera sits was just irritating me. But it's fixed now. It's fixed. So being above the line, like I said, based off the emojis that we see, happy, ecstatic, joyful, chill, excited, right? So when we say we're above the line, right, that's what it means. That's what those things mean. We're operating in a mindset where we're fueled with positivity. We're fueled with good vibes, good nature, all that stuff. And so for me, again, I'm just speaking for myself, but for me, whenever I am operating in a space where I am above the line, if I have the capacity to, I'm going to stress that again, if I have the capacity to, I will give a little more of the energy that I have built up left over to those that may not be above the line with me, right? In this life that I've been living, I'm learning and knowing that while we have to put ourselves first in certain situations, if we have the capacity to, we should pour into those around us. We should pour into those that deserve it. And when I am above the line, that's what I do. I pour into my friends and my family, and to those around me that I know deserve it, that I know aren't always above the line. They may be below the line or on the line, right? But that is something that I tend to do, right? Again, only if I have the capacity to, because prior to me knowing that it's okay to, I guess, be selfish and pour into yourself, I would pour into others before I pour it into myself, right? And me being an only child, I have always, always yearned for companionship. I yearned for being apart, right? And so I always thought, why not give before I get? Because you attract more bees with honey than vinegar, right? And in doing that, I learned from multiple lessons, a multitude of lessons, that people will use you for all that you have, and pour nothing into you, right? And so learning that, I knew that there had to be a balance, right? And so putting me first and being at a space where I'm content with where I'm at, right? And then looking at the leftovers that I have, then I can give that to people, right? Because when I give, I don't expect to get back anymore, right? That's just how I am, And it's okay. It's okay to not receive it, but when you're in a space, when you're giving before you're pouring into yourself, you really feel jaded, like, oh, I need to put myself first, because obviously those that I'm pouring into aren't pouring back into me, right? So as I said, being above the line for me means that I'm at a space where I'm operating on all full cylinders, right? And I'm able, if I do have the capacity, to pour into others, right? So that is the definition or explanation of the tier of being above the line, right? So moving into the second tier, which is in the middle, which is smack dab being on the line, right? And being on the line, as the emojis represent, is just being okay. You're not excited, you're not depressed, you're not super happy, you're not super sad, you're just content. Things are just okay. And what I'm learning, especially in this country, in this generation that we're living in right now, is that being okay seems to be the baseline for everybody at this point. It seems to be the constant. And for me, I guess, I'm operating in a constant of being on the line. I'm just being okay. And that doesn't mean being okay is bad. Yes, we strive for happiness. Yes, we strive to be our peak selves, right? But being on the line and being realistic about all that stuff is just showing that it's okay to be okay. It's okay to, I wouldn't say be numb, but it's okay to just be in a space of acceptance. How about that? Of acceptance of what's happening, and knowing that, hey, it's not going to last. And that's one thing I'm learning, is that whatever we're going through, good, bad, or indifferent, it's not going to last forever. It's all temporary, right? And so being on the line, I guess I won't say it's being melancholy, but it's just being content with where we're at, right? So that is what it means to be on the line, right? And so we're going to move into our third and final tier of the line dynamic, which is being below the line. And as you guys can see by the emojis that are on the screen where it says below, being below the line means we're angry, we're mad, we're sad, we're discontent, we're disgusted, we're appalled, right? All of those not so fun words, right? And so for me, when I am operating in a space where I am below the line, I do a few things to gauge what my next step may be, right? One, sometimes I give myself a day to just soak in the mess, to just sit in it. I won't say soak, but just sit in whatever feelings that I'm having. I give myself a day to just feel. And when I do that, or when I do decide to do that, whenever I'm below the line, I isolate a bit, right? I don't do a lot of interacting with people, because in those moments, I feel that whatever I'm feeling may be may bleed onto those around me, right? Those that care about me, because we don't want our friends or our loved ones to be in a bad headspace, right? And that's just sometimes how it is, right? And so for me, because I don't want to make any permanent decisions or actions when I'm in a temporary negative mindset, right? I tend to isolate, and I spend time with God, and I talk to God, and I'm like, man, dislike, I'm not gonna say the word hate, but I dislike feeling this low. I dislike feeling the emotions that I'm feeling, right? And so I get to a place where I just talk to God. I give everything to God. And within that time of isolation, I wait. I wait till I'm feeling better, or I wait till God tells me to. And then when I'm in a space where I don't feel like my emotions are controlling my actions, while they're still present, they're not controlling or dictating my actions. I tend to reach out to my support system, right? And for me, my support system could look vastly different than your support system, right? So for me, my support system is consisted of my family, my friends, professional help, so like therapy, life coaching, all that stuff, and my spiritual leaders, obviously God, those that are leading, that are being led by God, my church family, and those things, right? And so that is my support system. And so, like I said, when I'm getting out of a space where I don't feel like I'm bleeding onto other people with whatever I'm going through, where I'm able to communicate without being so emotionally led, then I reach out to my support system, right? And typically I reach out to all of those branches at the same time, because I know for a fact that something's got to give. Something from those branches of my support system is going to not only push me from being further away from being below the line to closer to being on the line, or even shooting me all the way up to being above the line, right? And so that is what I tend to do. That is the way that I tend to operate whenever I'm feeling feelings, big feelings, right? And so I leave the question to you guys for the next few minutes. Where are we at on the line? Where do you fall today in this moment? Are you above the line? Are you on the line? Or are you below the line? So I'm going to give you guys a few moments to gather your thoughts in the chat, and we can discuss it here momentarily. All right, y'all, we are back. So where are we at using the line dynamic? For me, I'm operating in a space of being on the line and a little bit above. I'm kind of doing this kind of thing, right? Nothing, no high peaks or valleys, but just like little meadows, little hills of up and down today. I have a busy week into weekend coming up, and so I'm trying to get my mindset in the right place to be able to operate in a space where I'm above the line, right? But it's just it's difficult right now to just shoot up above the line. But again, as I said before, the concept for a lot of us is just being on the line. And so I'm a little bit above the line. My head's sticking on it. I would say I'm sitting on the line, but my head's above it. The rest of my body's above the line, right? So that's where I'm operating at today. That's how I'm feeling today. Leo Wichi says, we strive to be at least on the line. Say that, my brother. We strive to be at least on the line. I'm well above the line, and I'm going to milk every minute of it. My family good and my friends are thriving. Say that, bro. I'm happy to hear that. So I'm going to, if you do have the capacity, I'm going to take some of that above the line energy that you have, and I'm going to put it in myself right now. Because I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that, bro. I really am. And you deserve it. You deserve to be operating in a space where you are above the line, because you are loved and you are valued. And don't you forget that. Please don't ever forget that. So yes, that's where I'm at. That's where we're at. So I'm happy to see that. Leoshi says, oh, and I'm pouring and exuding love to you. I have plenty to give. Okay. I receive it, bro. I do. I do. I'm happy to hear that. So yeah, that's where we're at using the line dynamic. I'm happy to hear that the chat is above the line today. And I'm going to relish that pouring of love. I'm going to embrace that. So, with the introduction out of the way, let us dive into the topic of tonight, right? Um, oh, hold on. Oh, no, 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 wrong thing, wrong thing. Hey, that's me. Love CPS NJ says, I'm dancing on the tightrope. I'm happy to hear that, Janelle Monet. You better be dancing on the tightrope. All right, y'all. So, as you guys can see in the title, the word of the week for this month, the month of June. Also, for the month of June, I always give y'all a theme, right? So last month's theme was what you water grows, right? For the month of April. Y'all, these months are rolling by fast. Fast, y'all. We're already halfway through the year. Um, but the theme of last month of April was what you water grows, right? And we had our words of the week being momentum, mindset, and maturity, right? And so we talked all month long about those words, right? And so moving from that, we're moving into June. And so the theme for this month is the heart check. What is my heart telling me? So that is going to be the theme of this month, right? And so as you guys can see in the title, the word of the week today, I'm going to put in the chat. The word of the week today, of this week, is judgment. So I pose the question to you guys. What are your first thoughts when you hear or see the word judgment? Again, what are your first thoughts when you hear or see the word judgment? Again, I'm going to give you guys a few moments to gather your thoughts, put them in a chat, and then we'll discuss here momentarily. I'll be right back. All right, y'all. We are back. We are back. So I pose a question for our word of the week, right? What are your first thoughts when you hear or see the word judgment? Start in the chat. Love CPS NJ says, pain, punishment, brutality, unjust. Okay. I'm here for that. Leo Witchy says, I'm actually lost on this. Final sentencing ideals. Okay. All right. This is one of the first words of the week where I believe it can go any way. It's all about perception when it comes to this. Usually our words of the week are pretty finite with what our first thoughts come to mind. They're all in the same ballpark, but this one is a little different. I did that on purpose. Because we're gonna really talk tonight. I'm not gonna have a lot of time to talk tonight, but we're gonna talk tonight. So for me, my first thoughts when I think of judgment, I think of God. I think of bullying a little bit. I think of preconceived notions. I think of hurt. Those are some of the things some of my first thoughts that come to mind when I see or hear the word judgment. So I'm happy that we have a range of thoughts that come to mind when we see the word or hear the word. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. But before we get into that, I love definitions, right? So courtesy of Merriam-Webster and the niggas, right? The definition of judgment, or two definitions of judgment. One is the act or process of forming an opinion or evaluation by discerning and comparing. The second definition is an opinion or decision that is based on careful thought. So let us keep those things in mind, the definitions at least in mind, as we move forward into today's word of the week. All right, y'all. Let's dive into it. So what we usually do here when it comes to the words of the week, right? We break them down using what I've curated here myself, called the 4 seasons of understanding, right? And that is mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, right? So we're going to talk about the word judgment from those 4 vantage points, or those 4 seasons. Haha, 4 seasons me, right? So with that being said, let us move into season 1, which is spring, which is mental, right? Our mental season. And so when it comes to the mental season, we focus on what am I learning, right? And so let's talk about judgment in the mental sense, right? So first thing I think about is assumptions. So and how they affect my mind, right? And when I was thinking about this, there was something that happened earlier today, right? I had preconceived notions and assumptions about a specific person, right? And so I was driving to a work meeting, and traffic was crazy, and there was somebody trying to merge over, but I'm clearly in my lane, driving straight, and there's no room, right? And this person was literally not inching over; they were literally turning over into the lane, and yeah, I've been working on my cursing, so I didn't curse. But I was like, what is this dummy doing? Like, and I honked my horn to get their attention, and they're like, oh, And so they veered back into their lane. And so as I was driving by, okay, so I'm I guess it's petty. I don't know. I'm the type of person, if you almost hit me, I'm gonna look in your direction. I'm gonna look over at you to make sure you cool, right? I'm not the type of person to roll my window down and shout out obscenities or anything. I'm not that, because I know niggas is crazy nowadays. Niggas got guns on them at all times. So I'm like, hey, I want to make it home safe and sound. I don't want no issues. But I'm gonna look at you crazy, like what is you doing? Did you not notice what just happened? How you almost tried to hit my car because you wasn't paying attention, right? And so I'm driving and I'm looking at them, and then I see the handicap placard on their rear view mirror, right? And then I see it's an older woman. And then I'm like, I just yelled and called this woman stupid. Was she paying attention? And maybe she was distracted briefly. We all get distracted by things sometimes. But I've had so much judgment on this person before even seeing them, even knowing who they are, right? And then I felt bad for passing judgment because I realized that it was an older person, and sometimes older people, things happen, things happen. So I prejudged the person because of an action that was happening. I created a whole scenario, a whole story in my head about this person, and then when I actually saw who this person was, I was like, oh, it's just an old person that probably did not see, clearly in their side mirrors that somebody was over here in this lane. And so I realized that in certain situations I'm quick to judge. That's my truth. In certain situations I am quick to have preconceived notions, or initially have somebody seen in a certain light that may not be accurate in the overall scope of who they are, right? And so yeah, mentally I was already coming up with scenarios and things about who this person is, what this person does, why they don't need to be driving, all that stuff. When come to find out that maybe they just really didn't see in the side mirror. They didn't hit me, thank goodness, right? Because I was honking the horn and I was I was paying attention, right? And that's something I was learning. I am learning throughout church, especially in the men's group, is that sometimes we're quick to judge. Sometimes we're quick to react, and not take a moment, take a beat to assess the situation and have discernment versus criticizing, right? So that is the spring season of being mental. So what am I learning, right? So that's what I found useful when it came to judgment, is looking at it in that mindset, right? So we're going to move into the second season, which is the summer season, which is the physical season, right? So what am I doing? What am I actively doing? And I'm looking at judgment in a way of how does judgment affect my behavior, right? So we talked about a little bit about my mindset, right? Of what the mental season is for judgment, me coming up with scenarios or stories or things that affect my thinking, right? And so now we're going to talk about how judgment affects my actions. And so I think about how I want to use church for it as an example. For me, I'm very new into being fully submerged in church life, Christianity life. And I've received, and I wouldn't say it's just church. I even use like school and institutions as an example too. How my preconceived notions for people sometimes affects how I interact with them, right? So if I'm thinking that this person isn't a nice person, or they may have RBF, resting B face, sometimes I have that. People look at me and I got a mug on, but I'm friendly. I'm a friendly nigga. But people can preconceive that I'm this, and then their reaction or how they act or interact with me is based off this idea that they have of me that is not accurate, right? I can be guilty of the same. I am guilty of the same. And so because of that, I tend to put my best foot forward, and I wouldn't say ignore the red flags that I may see, but until my ideas of this person or the situation become fact, I'm just going to still present myself as, hey, how you doing, friendly, all that stuff, until I'm put in this place where I'm like, okay, you are not the person that deserves this type of greeting, this type of energy. And maybe not deserving is the wrong word, but knowing that me giving that is not going to be beneficial to me. I don't even want to say that. I'm just very cautious and cognizant of who I pour into nowadays, who I approach in specific ways. I'm always going to be, respectful and acknowledge, but I don't give all that out so frequently and so easily anymore, right? And I think about me going to school, even like in elementary school. I was judged by my physical appearance, right? I was judged by being overweight. I was judged by my skin color. I was judged by not being the most masculine presenting guy in the school, right? As a child, but for child, right? So either way, I was judged by people with these things in their mind. And because of that, I would not be approached in certain ways, or I would be overlooked because of the assumptions people had about me. In fact, there was one of my closest friends in elementary school. He and I did not get along. His name was Josh. He was white. That was my ace boo coon back in elementary school. But we met in fourth grade, and so where I went to school, Franklin Montessori. Shout out to Franklin Montessori. We had kindergarten, and then first, second, and third were all in one class. Fourth, fifth, and sixth were all in one class, right? And so when I got to fourth grade, I didn't know anybody really, and so I was kind of like to myself. I'm not that open with meeting people, especially at that age. I was like, all right, I don't know these people. I want to make friends, but I don't trust everybody because I've been hurt before, especially as a child. And Josh and I did not get along. I did not think he liked me at all. But moving on from fourth grade into fifth grade, we started getting along. And then fifth grade into sixth grade, that was my best friend. We were each other's best friends. And we both judged each other before we really got to know each other. And then I'm realizing is that as we got to know each other, as we got to spend more time with each other, we realized that we're actually pretty cool people, and we formed and established a really good friendship. But it did not come without strife. It did not come without tension or trying to think of the word. It did not come easy. It started with us not being on the same playing field to us being on the same playing field, on the same team at that point, right? So yeah, when it comes to the physical season of judgment, what are practical steps I can take to listen more and assume less? And as I said, I'm in a space now where I'm trying to present myself to everybody in a open, friendly way, until proven otherwise that I don't need to. But practically, I would say, what are some steps to listen more and assume less? Is just to be open and honest, and understanding that what you see isn't always what you get. You know, how somebody presents themselves is not always how they are. You know, it could just be an off day. You know, I got an event that I got to go to and I'm not lined up, so people may see me and assume certain things, you know, but actually, in all actuality, I have my lined up appointment tomorrow morning. So it's like, you know, it is what it is, but who I am isn't going to change. You may judge me and may see me in different lights or whatnot, but that's on you. I'm going to always be me. So I guess the practical step is just always presenting yourself in a positive manner, and whatever comes from it comes from it. But let's not assume. We are all children in God's eyes, right? And so we all deserve love. We all deserve happiness. And so I'm going to meet people with that, regardless of how they meet me. At least try to. I'm not perfect. So with that being said, we're going to move into the third season, which is fall, which is our emotional season, right? So what am I experiencing? So the question that I have is, how does judgment impact relationships? So as I said earlier, my actions towards my best friend Josh during that time were not the best. We judged each other. And because of that, our relationship was strained until we got to a point where we was like, okay, let's stop judging each other. Let's just be. And then it shifted our relationship. We literally became the best of friends. And I know for me, growing up, because I was judged so much, I was always, I wouldn't say sheltered, but I was to myself, because I didn't trust people, because I've been hurt and talked about without even doing things to people, right? Kids are cruel. That's kids can be cruel until life hits them and they're like, let me change how I'm interacting with people, because I don't like it coming back to me in that same manner, right? It's just life. But you don't know who could be a blessing in your life. And if you judge somebody based off physical appearance or based off of, a first impression, it could be detrimental to our growth, to their growth. Because like I said, we don't know why God puts people in our lives. But if we're quick to judge off the physical, judge off the appearance, judge off the first time we interact, and not have clear discernment to make choices or our decisions for why we interact or why we don't interact with people, we could be missing out on our blessings, right? And that's what I'm learning. And that's something that one of my pastors was saying, is that the person sitting next to you could be the one that could help bring the blessings upon you. They could help bring things out of you that have been stagnant, right? But because of how we may perceive them or think about them, it clouds our judgment, it clouds our discernment, and puts us in a space where we're running away from something that could be a blessing to us, right? And so that is what I believe is a big impact when it comes to judgment in our relationships, is that when we judge, we could be already tearing down something God has delivered to us, something that could put us in a better mindset, in a better space. But because of our preconceived notions, we're quick to turn it away. We're quick to reject it. That's something I'm still working on, but I digress. And last but not least, we're going to move into our fourth season, which is the spiritual season. So winter for us, right? And so the question posed for this season is, what is God revealing to us, right? And so when it comes to judgment and spirituality, I think of grace. That's the first thing that comes to mind when I think of that. How grace transforms judgment, right? Giving people the benefit of the doubt, giving people the ability to not be one-dimensional acknowledging that we're all different. We all have different things that we're going through in our lives that affect our emotions, that affect our decision making choices and whatnot. And knowing that allows us to give grace to people, right? A scripture that stuck out to me as I was doing my research for this was Ivsznz 2:8-9. Again, that's Ephesians 2 verses 8-9. And it states, "For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast." That scripture really highlights for me how gracious God is. God loves us through all the ups and downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He loves us. And he will continue to keep loving us through all of those things. And he gives us grace when we fall, when we do things we're not supposed to. He gives us grace. And that is something that I'm striving to put out and give to other people. Because we're not one dimensional. Things happen, stuff happens. And we may not react to everything in the most upbeat way, or we make mistakes, and because of that I give grace. Now for me, I used to give too much grace, and when I say too much grace, I would let people in my life, people who were in my life, they're not in my life anymore, but I let people who were in my life make the same mistakes over and over again. And I would say the reasoning behind that was because I wanted companionship. I wanted to be a part, and so I would hold on to toxicity because I didn't want to be alone. I would entertain people who I knew were not going to show up for me consistently, but at least they're there in the moment, right? And that's something I'm kind of struggling with right now. I live a very lonely life. I'm just going to be honest. I live a very lonely life. And honestly, being in church kind of highlights how lonely I am. I see so many people with children. I see people with their spouses, and I wouldn't say I'm jealous of any of that or envious, but I notice the difference between my life and their life. And now I don't know what's all going on in their home. I don't know if they are getting along. No relationship is perfect. I get that. I don't know what problems they're going through. But for me, being an only child, not being in a relationship, not having kids or any of that, but seeing that and knowing that those are the things that I want, right? It's hard sometimes. It's hard sometimes seeing that, especially, my sexuality right now. I haven't had sex with nothing. So, I guess I'm asexual right now. But prior to that, I wanted to be in a relationship with a nigga. That's realistic. That's how I saw life for me. Women don't get me going like that. That's, but seeing those things that I want, that I see people possibly taking advantage of them, it's like, man, God, I would take care of whatever you bring to me, whatever is destined for me, a relationship, kids, all the shebang, right? I will do right. I will cherish those things. But it's not my time for it right now. God is working on me in a lot of different ways, and to not pass judgment on those people who do have those things that I may, eventually want. I turn into myself and look at all the things God has delivered me from, all the things God has put in my life. Like I said, I operate in a space, whenever I'm feeling that, I operate in a space of, okay, what am I thankful for? Thankful that I'm able to move around, my legs, my arms, my mouth, my eyes, my health, the people that I do have around me that may not be like romantic partners or kids, but I have a good support system of family and friends, right? And so I tend to lean into those things whenever I'm feeling myself feeling like a little icky or a little green with envy about some people's situation, because like I said, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We only see what we see. We don't see it all. And so I don't tend to stay jealous. I'm like, man, I would love to be married, or I would love to have kids. I would love to have a partner. But it's not for me in this moment, and that's okay. So I'm trying to do my best to, be busy with other things that don't allow me to put myself in a mindset where I'm constantly judging others' lives than judging my life, right? So grace, giving myself grace just like I give other people grace. It's not an easy thing. Leah Witchy says, I had to do that yesterday. I had to remove myself from the moment and try to see the other perspectives to get a good outlook of the situation. That's all you really can do, sometimes is move yourself from that situation and be like, why do I feel what I feel when this happens? And talk to God about it, But yeah, we're gonna leave it at that, because we're going to dive a little deeper into this month with I've said a couple of the words that we're going to talk about for words of the week for this coming month. So without giving too much out, we're going to call it right here. So we're going to do our closing. We're going to do our wrap up. And with that, we talk about what we know for sure. And so one thing is, I know for sure that somebody is loud outside. That's what I know for sure. Outside my door, somebody is just having a feels day about something. I'm going to try to overtalk it because that's not my business. I ain't about to judge them for whatever they got going on. That's not my business. But I know for sure that I'm going to try my best to not have preconceived notions for people and to not prejudge people. I am nobody's God. I don't dictate or anybody's life. I don't run anybody's life. It's just me. And so I can't judge. I can discern, and I can make educated decisions about certain people after I get information, after I get, okay, I see how you talk, I see how you interact, I see how you communicate. I'm not a fan of it, so I'm going to move around, right? But I have to give grace also, because how they present initially may not be who they are. Whatever they're going through in that moment may just be a temporary thing, and who they are on the other side of whatever they're going through is a magnificent person, right? So I know for sure that I have to give grace, and by giving grace, it allows me to not judge people prematurely. So that's what I would say I know for sure. What we do here is our shameless plugs. I am a life coach, and I have a life coaching experience called Through the Seasons. It is a small 4-week coaching experience for people who feel unseen, who may be stuck in between chapters, or want a space to be heard or find clarity. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go ahead and DM me here on Twitch or email me at ivsznz@gmail.com to learn more. Also, Discord. We have a Discord server for the Four Seasons community. We are happy to welcome you all. It is a place where we communicate, we talk. Mainly, you guys are notified whenever I upload or go live. So all of those things, all those notifications you will receive if you join the Discord. It's free $99. You don't have to pay for anything. So we would be happy to have you be a part of the Four Seasons community. Also, in the same vein for that, I have a YouTube channel where I upload my past VODs of the podcast up there. Again, subscribing there is free, just like Discord. So please, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. Yeah, I think that's it. Also, I have a co-working stream that I do every Saturday at 11 a.m. EST. Be present for that. I will be doing that because I missed last week. It was a lot going on. But I missed last week, so I have to be here for this week. Again, that's on the same channel at 11 a.m. EST. It's a co-working stream. If you guys are new to what a co-working stream is, it's just a place where we promote accountability, goals completion, and it's a sense of community, right? So if you have tasks that you want to get done throughout the session, chores or all those things, you can come and do it with all of us. We all have our own things that we got going on, but we all do it together, and at the end of the stream, we have a whole list on the side of things that we've completed. My house be clean, because that's a big part of my co-working stream, is taking care of my house. And we have good vibes. We play games, we listen to music. It's a very chill vibe for some time, for the most part, but you get things done while still operating in this chill vibe, right? So I think that's it. Again, shout outs to each and every one of you. Thank you for the follows, thank you for the lurkers, thank you for the subs, and everybody in between. Shout outs to the Four Seasons community that show up and show out every time. I appreciate y'all without a doubt. I will be back here on this channel Saturday for the co-working stream. If you missed that, I'll be back here next week for the podcast. But with that being said, be good to yourselves and be good to everyone else, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.